The movie starts in the dark forest. Number 3 and his guard hide in a hut. Suddenly they hear sounds from, and as the guard approaches the window with his blade, the beast suddenly drags him through the wall. 3 immediately runs away and makes some amazing jumps to avoid beast and cause it to crash. The third then jumps off the edge of the cliff and slides towards the ground, but is unfortunately found by the beast's owner. The guy takes 3's necklace and kills him. When a tree turns to dust, the enemy adds this necklace to their collection. Meanwhile, number 4 uses the fake name John and is having fun on the beach with his friends. While swimming with S' girlfriend, his leg suddenly begins to glow and he screams in pain, and S' hostile spirit shows him Sam's death and warns him that the same thing will happen to him. The girl runs back to the shore and tells the others that John is a freak, so everyone else laughs at him while he runs away. In the morning, John wakes up on the beach and is found by his guardian Henri, who usually gives in front of the pretending to be his father to others. It turns out they are both aliens who have come to hide on Earth and escape the Mogadorians, another type of alien who are killing John's people. He now has 3 marks on his leg, meaning numbers 1 through 3 are dead and he's next. There are a total of 8 teenagers with powers hiding on Earth, and the Mogadorians must kill them to kill them. The duo decides it's time to move again before they get caught, and John is devastated because burned all the photos and other memorabilia from his life there. As they drive away, a small lizard drives past them on a truck. They end up turning it into an old house in Paradise, Ohio. As they calm down, Henri deletes all of John's photos and videos on social media to make them harder to find, and John dyes his hair. Henri also hides a mysterious box in a grandfather clock and creates new fake IDs for John. Outside, a small lizard emerges from the truck and approaches Number, but suddenly turns into a dog. Just then, John hears a noise and leaves to find his adopted dog, whom he names Bernie. Returning to the previous house, number 6 comes to room to find John and finds the building empty. She decides to burn it, blithely avoiding S' explosion because its power makes her fireproof. Shortly after she leaves, the Mogadorians arrive and find several burned objects, from the smell of which they conclude that John is still alive. The next day, John decides to go to school because he is tired of being at home all the time. He arrives at the principal's office, and while waiting for his fake ID number to be verified, he overhears the principal scolding Sarah for taking photos of her teachers. S' secretary then asks Sarah to show it to John, so John enjoys the company and ignores Henry's calls. When they arrive at the lockers, Mark and his friends approach them and tell John that he can count on them if he needs anything. However, as they leave, they show their true colors when they hit Sam and throw away his skateboard. John immediately gives Sam his skateboard back and befriends him. After class, John notices that Sam is being harassed by Mark's group again, so he takes the ball and throws it at one of Mark's friends with such force that knocks him over. Later that evening, John finds Sarah's website with all of her photos, including an entire section of him. However, Henri quickly hacks the site and deletes every image with John's face for his own safety. The next day during class, Mark continues to harass John, who suddenly feels strange. His hands start to glow and John tries to hide it, but it's difficult because the glow keeps getting brighter. At home, Henri sees the same light on the clock and rushes to school with. John soon panics and runs to hide in the janitor's room, but dipping his hands in water does no good. The glow begins to go crazy, but at that moment John is found by Henri, who with thoughtful words helps John calm down and turn off the glow. After, they go home and Henri explains that John's powers are finally manifesting. From now on they will only get stronger, so he must learn to control them. John then goes to his room and manages to trigger glow of his choice. Excited, he climbs out the window and begins testing his new abilities in various ways, throwing a rock that crosses the ozone layer, running very quickly through the forest while being careful to avoid everything, and making some very impressive jumps on a small lake. Meanwhile, the Mogadorian disguised himself as a human to go to a grocery store and buy a large quantity of meat and chicken. He then throws it in the back of his truck to feed his huge animals. Back at John's, he goes for a walk and meets Sarah, who invites him to dinner. John is very impressed with S' house and her family. He feels very comfortable and warm when he sees them playfully arguing at S' dinner. This is the house he always wanted. After dinner, Sarah takes John to her room and shows him her best photos. Their cozy moment is interrupted by the barking of Bernie, who reminds John that it's time to go home. Before he leaves, Sarah gives John a camera. As John leaves the house, a jealous Mark watches him from a distance. The next day, Sam advises John to avoid Sarah because she is Mark's ex and he will take it personally. Just then, Sam and John open their lockers and color explodes on their faces, also ruining Sam's photo with his missing father. The prank was carried out by Mark, who now laughs at her with his group. An angry Sam tries to hit Mark, but John stops him and is tempted to do it himself. However, he feels his hands starting to glow and knows he can't control it, so he ignores Mark's taunts and leads Sam away. The boys then remove themselves and Sam throws the picture away, explaining that his father disappeared while searching for aliens. Sam is sure that his father has been kidnapped and that's why everyone laughs at him. At exit, John sees Sarah and decides to avoid her to avoid further trouble. Meanwhile, Henri searches the internet for information about Sam's father and decides to visit the old factory where S' friend disappeared. The ground is weak and he drills a hole to get into the secret underground area where he discovers mysterious drawings on a pillar and a strange glowing stone, which he takes home for further study. Later that evening, John is tired of being alone. He goes to the spring festival to hang out with Sarah. The duo goes on a terrifying road trip, which Sam notices. They have a lot of fun with various jump scares and end up in a scary artificial forest where they are chased by an actor with a chainsaw. Suddenly, the duo is attacked by Mark's gang, with Sarah being kidnapped by one of the boys and brought to Mark. As Sam watches from the shadows, John is defeated by everyone who hits him at the same time, leaving him with no choice but to use his powers. He knocks out most of the group with the glow from his hands in seconds and then throws the last guy into a tree. He then goes looking for Sarah and finds the man who took from her and blinds him with his glow until the man reveals her whereabouts. When John finds Mark, he throws him to the ground and prepares to break his arm, but Sarah begs not to do this. Afterwards, John walks Sarah home and they kiss. On the way home, accidentally breaks a lamppost with his strength and tests it again with a second post, is happy that he is getting stronger. At that moment, he receives a message from Sam asking him to discuss what happened. The boys meet and Sam asks for the truth and threatens to show everyone 55,555 incriminating photos. John checks the photos and determines there is nothing to worry about, so he refuses to talk. However, Sam opens up and reveals how difficult it is for him to believe that his father abandoned the family. So if he had proof that aliens exist, it would help him feel better. John feels bad, confesses everything, and Sam promises not to tell anyone. The next day, Sheriff James comes to John's house, interrogates him, and accuses him of attacking his son Mark and his friends. John quickly denies this and says he was with Sarah, who can confirm his story. James is still suspicious but can't do anything and leaves after noticing all the cameras outside. Unfortunately, a video of John with his glowing leg in the sea has surfaced online, so Henri decides it's time for them to go. This time, however, John refuses because he wants to stay with Sarah. An argument breaks out which quickly escalates into a melee. John's powers may be getting stronger, but Henri still has more experience and defeats the boy in just a few rounds. Henri changes John's mind and points out that the Mogadorians will also kill Sarah if they stay. The next morning, John wakes up to find Henry gone and the box on the table. Suddenly, the mysterious voice calls him and tells him where to find Henri, so John asks Sam to take him there. During his journey, Sarah tries to call John, but he ignores her. In the evening, they arrive at building, and as John looks out the window through the glowing window, he notices that the owners are possessed by aliens. Just then, a man comes out of the house and drives away in a car, so John asks Sam to follow him while he investigates the case. John uses his powers to open the lock and goes inside, where finds more alien items and a blade that belonged to Tree's guardian. John then goes into the basement and a piece of his sweatshirt gets caught on a nail. There he finds Henri tied up, and as he approaches to free him, he is suddenly attacked by a man. John quickly defends and knocks out the man, then uses his powers to free Henri, who explains that the Mogadorians have used 2 conspiracy theorists to set this trap. Just then, the guy who left the car returns to with Sam and holds him at gunpoint. John causes the light bulb behind him to explode and to fall, then Henri kicks him and John pins him to the ceiling with his strength. As man begins to describe how the Mogadorians will destroy everything, a frightened John abandons him so they can strike him down as well. As the group tries to leave, the cellar door suddenly explodes and Mogadorian appears. He goes to shoot John, but Henri pushes him and starts fighting him with a blade while tells John to go with Sam. The men begin destroying the basement and fight at sight, and the Mogadorian sets several fires while Henri dodges his shots. Henri ends up getting hit in the legs and falls, but finds the man's gun and shoots the alien until he knocks him out. Afterwards, Henri joins the boys in the truck, but Sam has lost his keys. John focuses on starting the truck with his power, but unfortunately the Mogadorian comes out of the house with blade and tries to stab John through the window. Henri catches the blade in his hand, but it goes straight through and pierces his chest. An enraged John sends the alien flying before finally starting truck, and the trio escape. During the trip, Henri gives John the stone he found and explains that Sam's father used it to track aliens. He explains that Sam's father actually helped her people and had to bring the 8 teenagers together, so now John has to find the rest of himself. Finally, Henri can't take it anymore and Sam stops the car so John can say goodbye to Henri before he turns to dust. Meanwhile, more Mogadorians arrive at house and find a piece of John's sweatshirt, allowing them to track him by smell. Before he leaves, punishes the 2 men for failing their mission. The bodies are soon found by the police, and Six sees everything nearby. In paradise, James finds Sarah, who asks her about John and reveals that he used forged documents. A few minutes later, Sam hears on the radio that John and Henri are accused of terrorism. John receives a message from Sarah asking for an explanation, so they return to the city with. During the drive, Sam reveals that he has a stone at home similar to the one Henri found and admits that he stole it from his father. John asks him to take it while he looks for Sarah. Sam rushes home and meets Bernie, who helps him find the stone. Back to John, he goes to S party and everyone starts talking about him while Mark calls his father. John finds Sarah sitting on the roof of and immediately demands an explanation, but is interrupted by the arrival of James and a group of police officers. As James tries to get closer, he startles Sarah and causes her to fall, but John makes her swim with his powers and then jumps to catch her. Then they escape, and when the police try to surround them, John uses his powers to freeze all the cars. After John and Sarah escape through the forest in the year, Mark gets into another car with his father and tries to find them. Their path is blocked by Mogadorians, who rip open the car door and throw James out. They then force Mark to tell them how to find John. Meanwhile, John and Sarah go to the school inn to develop the photos John took with Sarah's camera. As he shows her glowing hands, the Mogadorians surround the school and Sam and Bernie see it when they arrive. Sam calls John to warn him, so he and Sarah try to leave, only to find hallway covered in blood because the janitor is dead. At that moment, the lights go out, so John and Sarah hide in the classroom, hearing Mark screaming outside and trying to warn them too. The Mogadorians punish him by throwing him out the window, causing John and Sarah to escape with again. As they approach the door, it suddenly explodes and Six appears just in time to shoot the Mogadorians behind the pair. A firefight ensues, and after dodging several shots, Six uses her powers to turn invisible, jump at the enemy, and kill them both with her blade and pistol while moving incredibly quickly. Afterwards, Six finally greets John properly and explains that their guardian is also dead. She also mentions that the Mogadorians are guarding all exits, so Sarah mentions tunnel under the school that leads to the stadium. Outside, 2 beasts are released from alien truck and Bernie barks at them before he too begins to transform into a giant monster. Sam manages to sneak into the school and reunite with the others while the beast is thrown out the window. The Mogadorians also find them and open fire on them, whereupon Sam and Sarah flee. John tricks Monster into following him and uses his powers to throw tons of lockers at him. He then hits his head against the wall and ceiling, but the monster takes no damage and continues to attack him. At that moment, the transformed Bernie comes to the rescue, fighting a monster with the strength of. John takes the opportunity to return to Six, who is stuck in a firefight with the Mogadorians and is wounded by a grenade. John uses his powers to fend off the attackers and then disappears behind a table with Six. Suddenly, she asks him to hit her with his shine because it will restore her powers. So John does it and she quickly recovers. John then goes after the alien that killed Henri, stops the shots with his powers before fighting the guy hand-to-hand while Six attacks another Mogadorian with her blade. After many strikes, Six quickly moves towards, appearing above her enemy and killing him with one quick strike. She then throws the blade at John, who uses it to kill his 2 enemies and finally avenges Henri. Six later explains that Bernie is Chimera from her home planet, who has come to look after 8 teenagers. If we talk about Bernie, he continues to fight against the monster, which causes him many serious wounds. However, when Beast slips and falls, Bernie takes the chance to jump on it and ultimately kill it. Bernie then limps due to a leg injury and reverts to his dog form before passing out. Returning to John, he and Six reunite with the others and escape through a tunnel to reach Stadium, where they are found by another monster and the last Mogadorian. Sarah and Sam flee back into tunnel for shelter, and when the alien attempts to attack them, Sam uses the fallen enemy's weapon to quickly kill him. Outside, Six and John work as a team and use their powers to begin destroying the Mogadorians. While Six stabs two guys, John pushes another and tries to kill him, but is distracted when the monster captures Six. John begins firing his glow at the creature as it flies through the stadium with Six in its claws, and after several misses he finally hits the monster, causing it to drop Six. She immediately uses her power to appear on Monster S head, ultimately killing it. The last Mogadorian takes the chance to shoot John without killing him because he needs the necklace. Then the guy grabs John by the face, but before he can finish the job, John uses his power to heat the energy of the Mogadorian bullets. Six realizes his plan and jumps to push John away as he fires his semblance, causing S-orbs to explode. The Mogadorian is killed in the explosion while Six creates a force field on, saving himself and John. The whole stadium burned down, but everything is fine. Sometime later, John and Six want to leave and Sam announces that he is coming too because he wants to find his father. Bernie also appears, still wounded but alive and ready to go. They first fuse both pieces of stone together, which causes the stone to dissolve but also gives John and Six the ability to sense where the others are. Before they leave, Mark stops by to give the mysterious box to Henry John, explaining that he stole it from the evidence closet as an apology. Finally, John says goodbye to Sarah, promising that he will come back to her when everything is over, and kisses her one last time. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.